Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Westchester Women's Agenda Workshop on Avoiding Scams. We would like to thank our partners in this endeavor, the Pace Women's Justice Center, Roberta Goodman and Susan Carroll, and the Yonkers Public Library, Crestwood Branch Manager Z. Baird, Will Library Branch Manager Aurora Cruz, and Riverfront Library Administrator Sandy Amoyal. My name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the co-chair of the Westchester Women's Agenda Female Economic Empowerment Work Group, FEE. My co-chair is Lisa Boileau, and our team includes Juliet Armstrong, Ginny Rock Bailey, Lana Gaffas, and Polly Lagana. The mission of our group is to empower women with confidence, courage, and knowledge to tackle their issues and thrive. We are building programs to address three key areas of priority: increase awareness about economic issues facing women, provide education via workshops and collaborative initiatives, advocate for critical issues to improve women's economic success. Please consider joining the Westchester Women's Agenda. You can visit our website at www.agenda.org. We ask that you post your questions in the chat, and the speakers will answer the questions at the end. We will be posting a very quick survey in the chat before we sign off, so please do complete the survey. If you are in person, each library will have the physical survey. Again, the Crestwood, Riverfront, and Will Library will have the surveys. And if you're interested in hosting a workshop, we will put that link in the chat as well. Without further ado, Roberta Goodman and Susan Carroll, but let me pin them now. One sec. Where is Roberta Goodman? Where is she? There. Oh, she is. Susan Carroll. Hold on. Susan Carroll. Add spotlight. And there you go. Thank you, ladies. It's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thanks, Sally. My name is Susan Carroll. I'm an attorney with the Pace Women's Justice Center. I'm joined by my colleague, Senior Elder Justice Attorney Roberta Goodman, and we want to thank the Westchester Women's Agenda and the Empowerment Work Group in particular, as well as the Yonkers Public Library, and all of you for joining us this morning. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about scams because we know this is a hot topic for all of us and certainly something we all need to be actively both aware of and take steps to protect ourselves if and when a scam happens. Let me, if you could give me just a moment, I want to share a screen with you for a PowerPoint presentation we've prepared. Okay, I'm hoping everyone can see it now. Is that correct? Terrific, thanks. Let me advance it. So I want to start off by setting the stage a bit in terms of scams. I'm sure if I were to unmute you all, you would be able to likely share stories with me about how you perhaps received phone calls or emails or texts, or have a friend or family member, or perhaps yourself who's been scammed in the past several years. Because unfortunately, the scammers are relentless, and the methods they use to scam us continue to develop and change. So it is incumbent upon all of us both to stay on top of our personal information and our assets, and to be aware of the fact that when these things do happen, the best thing we can do is react in a safe manner and respond according to steps that will hopefully protect our assets, whether or not we are able to reclaim, which we'll get into in a bit more, some of what might have been taken. We put the screen up just to discuss a little bit about a study that was released from the FTC about the loss by age of frauds. And I always want to start reflecting on the age, because I know, yes, dramatically, the amount, the largest amount was for individuals 80 and above of $1,674. But that does not mean, obviously, that only people who are senior adults or older adults get scammed. And certainly we know, because of the proliferation, particularly now, of text message scamming, that some younger populations that perhaps weren't, tied to a landline, or perhaps available to answer a call or get the mail during the day, such as my own college-age kids, will certainly start being more susceptible to these scams as well. So to be a victim of a scam does not mean, that you have, that you should be embarrassed. That's the first thing I'm certain Roberta and I want to make sure everyone understands, that we at all ages can be susceptible to scams, and that these scams are so cleverly designed and are coming at us in a myriad of ways, from the computer to email to text messages to phone calls to in-person visits to your home, that from seemingly credible sources, that it can be very difficult to discern who's scamming you and who's a legitimate business or agency that wants to do business with you. So looking at these numbers just quickly, please remember that, as you can see here, it impacts all age groups. And we do know, particularly with older adults that we serve here at the Pace Women's Justice Center, that oftentimes there can be a feeling of shame or embarrassment when they contact us and acknowledge that they may have been the victim of a scam. And the one thing we want to make sure everyone understands, and certainly our clients, is there should be no shame. That honestly, that these scams are so clever and they're so relentless, as I said before, that anyone can be susceptible to falling to one of them, and that people should not feel embarrassed about seeking help. And that, I'm sure we all feel we want to help everyone who has been a victim of a scam, whether they're a family member, friend, or in our professional capacity. So what is the cost of scams? Well, the same survey, the FTC survey from 2022, indicated that consumers lost almost $8.8 billion to scams and frauds. And that was actually up 30% from 2021. Now, the interesting thing about this as well is, remember, this scams and frauds are underreported, right? That we know for as many people who may go through the reporting steps of contacting the police, contacting the FTC or the credit agencies, there are other individuals who may be victims of a scam and may not acknowledge it. And Roberta and I certainly know from doing outreach events and legal trainings in the communities that we've often been approached, particularly by older adults, who might confide in us that they had fallen prey to a victim of a scam and hadn't even disclosed it yet to friends or family members, because they were fearful that those individuals might perceive that they no longer had the ability to either handle their finances or live alone because they had fallen victim of a scam. So when I look at this number of 8.8 billion, it's staggering, but I also realize there's got to be some number of unreported scams that are not part of this survey. What types of scams were most costly in 2022? Well, investment scams were more than $3.8 billion, again, double the amount lost in 2021. And that amount just for investment scams alone was a staggering $7,000 plus per individual victim. Imposter scams, which can run the gamut from things such as, the grandparent scam we all know about, where people might call you up or send you a text or email and claim to be a relative of yours that is in a dire situation, a granddaughter, grandson, and claim that they need money to post bail, to hire an attorney, to pay fees to get out of a foreign country they're traveling to. And of course, the scammers are relying both on your concern and fear in that moment, perhaps to react and not to investigate before you part with your money in really strange ways for a business to do, business, such as a gift card or bank transfer or things of that nature. But again, scammers are relying on the fact that we become emotional when we learn that people we love are in distress. Romance scams can be another imposter scam. And unfortunately, and particularly with COVID and the period of time we're all coming out of now, where people were living their lives much online and perhaps more isolated than normal, that there's the ability for people to pretend to be someone they're not, even in terms of a personal relationship on a computer, on a dating website, on the phone. And that relationship can turn into something that becomes a request for cash or support. And people are kind-hearted, they believe they're in a relationship. And again, they're using ways that are untraceable, wiring money, sending gift cards and pins, by purchasing the gift cards and then sharing that gift card number and pin, or bank transfers, and having their finances leave their home without the ability to reclaim them again when they realize they're a victim of a scam. Other scams can be things like sweepstakes and lotteries. I'm sure many of you have gotten the same email I've gotten, that somehow, although I've never been to South Africa, I won a lottery there, and all I have to do to claim it is send $2,000 to pay the taxes on it, or I'm somehow related to a prince in Nigeria who wants to give me money. Now, these scams and lotteries have been around for a while, but some of the distinctions are that now we're also reachable through our cell phones and texts. And, 20, 30 years ago, people didn't have cell phones. So if you wanted to contact them, and people didn't have personal computers, 40 years ago. So you weren't sending emails to one another. You were relying on snail mail, phone call, or showing up in person. But now, since we are so reachable and there's so many different ways to contact us, and there's so many computer programs that are adaptable to robocall numbers until someone picks up, or to blast a number of emails with hidden email addresses, there are many ways for scammers from across the world to target different populations, here in the States and other countries, to scam them. There's certainly lots of business and job opportunity scams, because we know, certainly during COVID, when there was initial job losses and things shut down, many people were in dire straits, and scammers found the opportunity, again, to hit people where it hurts. And, the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's true with so many of these scams, but it's hard in the moment to realize it. Additional highlights from that same FTC report, which is really interesting to read. Identity theft, over 1.1 million reports of identity theft in 2022. And again, approximately 442,000 related to credit card fraud. And I'm probably almost certain that of all of us, the 24 of us plus online right now, or more in the future, who'll be watching this via recorded link, I'm certain you have too, as I have had your credit card compromised more than once in the course of your life, certainly more than once in the last 10 years. In terms of what type of victims are often scammed, interestingly, military community member victims, veterans member and their spouses, report losing more money than civilian counterparts. And I'm not quite sure why that is. I know Roberta and I were discussing this, and I was discussing this with other office mates in terms of whether, what about that population in particular seems to be more susceptible. But again, it's within just over $100 in terms of the money lost. Texts were the most common method, followed by phone calls and emails. And again, romance scams are just, continuing to climb. 40,000 reports with a loss of over 546 million. Again, people make bank transfers, at the moment when they're thinking they're jumping in on an investment opportunity that's too good to be true, or helping an online romance partner out with money for rent or a sick child. People are often kind-hearted and willing to make a bank transfer, not realizing that they're sending it to an address that they will never be able to recover it from, or they're using cryptocurrency. And of course, there's a number of reasons, as we all know from the news, why cryptocurrency can be a particularly unfortunate way to conduct business, both on the value of the cryptocurrency, as well as once it's shared or sent, online, that it's pretty much impossible to get back for the consumer who's been defrauded. Artificial intelligence. This is one of our newest scams, and I know it's got a lot of coverage in the press lately. It's been on, Good Morning America or other shows, and it can be very frightening because scammers only need a short clip of audio clip in some fashion of your voice or a loved one's voice to clone it, and then to use that cloned voice to contact people to solicit funds, again, usually under the call for distress. There was a program I was watching where a mother had said that her daughter played high school sports. I don't know if any of you saw this as well. And she'd been interviewed by a local media station after her high school sports game. And some scammer had used that audio clip to create a clip of her, to create her voice simulation, and then use that to engage in the grandparent scam, to basically have that voice, simulated voice, then contact family members, which again, they're thinking they're hearing from their granddaughter because the voice is cloned from the TV, to ask for emergency funds and to say that she's in dire distress. So it's frustrating because I know we've all heard, and Roberta's going to get into it in a few moments about the steps we can take to be proactive, knowing that we're not necessarily going to stop all scams, but what are some of the things we can do to help minimize the access scammers have to us and our emotions and our funds. And so for that, we've learned about caller ID and other things, but it's hard with the voice, like people feel when they pick up the telephone and they hear someone's voice that that's something they can trust. And again, scammers are always playing on our emotions, and certainly a distress call is something to do it. So much as we've learned with the grandparent scheme, whether you're getting it via a letter or an email, if you're getting contacted by someone and the voice sounds like the voice of someone you know and love, and they're soliciting funds or private and personal information, such as a bank ID or PINs, or asking you to send a gift card, or asking you to transfer or wire money. Again, Roberta will get into this, but the most important thing is verify. Do not immediately react. Do not pull out your credit card. Do not grab your checkbook and your bank numbers and start to wire. But speak to someone who could be in contact with that young person. And again, I know the scammers will say, much like in the grandparent scheme, please don't reach out to mom and dad, or don't let anyone know. But you have to remember, as I'm sure you do, like if someone's in distress, they need everybody to help them. This is not a personal thing. You need to get the truth in. You need to contact their parents or other people to verify. So first, call that person. If you have your granddaughter or grandson's cell phone or phone number, call them and see if you can reach them. And if you can't, then contact someone who would know where they are to see if they are in fact, out of the country, if they are in distress, if they need help, and verify that first before you offer to provide any financial assistance or provide any personal information. And again, remember, hallmarks of scammers is they don't want to be caught. So they are looking for payment in methods that are both hard to trace and hard to recover. Things such as wiring money, asking you to purchase gift cards, and then to read to them the gift card number and the PIN associated with it, using cryptocurrency, all sorts of ways where they know that as soon as that money leaves your hands in some fashion, you are not likely to recover it, even if you report these crimes. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Roberta Goodman, to talk a little bit about how to protect yourself.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everyone. And thank you to the Westchester Women's Agenda. We really appreciate the opportunity to share what we've learned with all of you. So we're outlining several steps that you should think about and you should take in avoiding scams, and ultimately what to do if perhaps you've fallen victim to a scam. So we'll start off with reviewing all statements. There's a limited window that banks and credit card companies give you to identify an error in a charge that appears on your statement. You have to timely review your statements, because if you catch something and it's after the window, the likelihood is that you will not be made whole, that the credit card company or the bank will challenge and say, you missed your opportunity. Reviewing statements is as important as checking to see, did the statement actually arrive, whether it's a monthly online bill that you review or if it comes in the mail. If you notice that you normally get a credit card bill on the 5th of the month, and by the 10th of the month, the 12th of the month, it still has not arrived, it's important for you to reach out to the credit card company, because there is a possibility that someone submitted a change of address in order to try and capture your credit card information. They will then pay the bill, have a new address, will be using your credit, and you will not be the wiser unless you recognize that a bill that you normally get, even if you don't make any charges, you still get a statement that says no money due. So be aware. And if you do determine that there is a charge in error, for example, even the utility company charging you for something that you didn't order, make the complaint timely. You may need to send an email, or you may need to do it in writing. In any case, take down the information of the person you're reporting it to. The next step to protect yourself from both fraud and identity theft is to shred all bills that has personal identifying information. We're very fortunate in Westchester County where the county provides free shredding services. You can either follow the mobile shredder and bring your documents to a site that has a mobile shredder event, or you can make an appointment with the household recycling facility, which is located in Valhalla. You can bring expired credit cards. You can bring all mail. You can't bring business information, meaning that if you run a business, you have to engage with a private contractor to shred your documents. And you should take any mail that comes addressed to you. Even when I get my my daily newspaper delivery and there's a label on it, I black out my information, or I tear off and tear up the label which has me listed as someone receiving the paper, because I'm a subscriber. So my credit card information is linked to that subscription. And in fact, I've gotten emails from the New York Times, for example, that says something along the lines of, your paper, you need to update your credit card information. Well, quite frankly, I have already done that. So I'm not going to get captured by this fake email. Computer safety, email accounts. We live and breathe email these days. It's been a way for us to stay connected. It's been a lifeline for many of us, but we need to be wary, and we don't want to open up an email that was not captured by our spam software. And we don't want to open up attachments, even if we think that they've come from a friend or a family member. It might say, check out these photos from my most recent vacation. What you want to do is you want to call the person who sent it to you, or initiate a new email to that person, or a text message if you text with them, and say, hey, did you send me an email this morning with some photos of your family or from your trip? If you've confirmed that it is legitimate, then absolutely you can feel comfortable opening it. But oftentimes these contain malware because someone's contact address book has been hijacked and hacked. And then emails are sent around. And if you open it, then that virus is deposited on your computer. So what can you do to keep your computer and keep yourself safe? Well, antivirus software is important. And it's important that whenever you get a message from whomever is your software provider that says updates need to be installed, or there is a security fix that should be installed, you need to do that. And you need to do that timely. It may involve shutting down windows that you have open because you're working on 14 different things at one time. But it's clearly an important tool in your arsenal to prevent you from having your computer be vulnerable. You want to use a secure and a unique password. Obviously, we're not going to use the names of our pets, our addresses, family members, or birth dates. You perhaps want to create a password that is easy to remember, that involves maybe the first initial. You create a sentence, and the first initial of each word in that sentence would be your password, with some symbol that follows it. And this way, it's something that is not easily replicated. I happen to keep a cheat sheet of passwords in my desk drawer because I don't use the same password for everything that I do. Getting onto my computer has one password. Going into my health records with my various healthcare providers has a different password. Going into my financial information has separate passwords. It's a pain in the neck, I know, but the likelihood of everything that you own, your world, being compromised is reduced if each category has a separate and unique password. The other step that we use is two-factor authentication identification. So when I sign on to my email account at the law school or my personal email account, I put in a password, and then I get a message that tells me to put in a verification code. And that verification code is either sent to you via your phone, your text, or your email. It's whatever you have selected, and you enter that information, and then you are allowed access into your computer or into your email or into your account. And it really is a very good way for you to continue to protect what you have on your computer. We use our computer to go shopping. Particularly the past couple of years when many of us were not leaving our homes, or we left it intermittently, we still needed to purchase some items. And many of us may have wanted to purchase some things that made us smile. And so how did we do it? We did it with online shopping. Those purchases, you need to use a credit card, not a debit card. Because when you use a credit card, the bank will, or the credit card company, American Express or Visa, they will stand by you if there is a charge that is not made by you. So, for example, if someone went into a jewelry store and purchased some gold earrings, and it appears on your credit card, and you don't wear earrings, or you didn't buy them as a gift, you know that it is not something that you ordered, and you would contact your merchant, you would contact your credit card, and you would dispute the charge. And again, it has to be timely. Seeing it on your bill, you have to do it within the window that the credit card company says you have to challenge. And you let them know that this is a disputed charge. They will then freeze that charge until they resolve the dispute. And oftentimes you will be benefited because they will determine that it was done fraudulently or in error. It could even be an innocent error. If you use a debit card, you do not get that same protection. So we highly recommend that you never use a debit card for an online purchase. The other reason that you don't want to use it for an online purchase is that debit card may be linked to your bank account, and you may have a significant amount of money in that bank account, or you may have an insignificant amount of money. Regardless, it's still your money, and you don't want it to be accessed. Some people like to use a single credit card to make their online purchases rather than using multiple cards. This way, if there is a compromise, it's limited to that particular credit card. It's a personal choice, but again, you should pay with a credit card as opposed to a debit card. When you perhaps make purchases online, you get part of a mailing list, and promotions and ads get sent to you. So you might want to take advantage. But how do you know that that solicitation is actually coming from the store, the merchant that you've done business with? You need to carefully look at the address from the sender. If there's a spelling error, for example, an extra letter in the name, then that is not from, then that merchant has had their address book compromised, and email with malware is being sent to people who have done business with them. So look carefully. And if you think that you're still suspicious, you could send a separate email to the merchant to inquire about the promotion that they offered to make sure that it's a legitimate offer. If there's someone that you're not familiar with, many times merchants sell their mailing list because it's another way for them to make money. But something looks interesting to you, maybe by the name. Go back, do a Google search, and see who the retailer is or who the merchant is, and you can explore that way. We're always very cautious about opening things up that come unsolicited. Social media accounts, privacy features. As someone who doesn't use social media, I don't know exactly how allowing someone to send you messaging works. I think you need to ask them to allow you in. But let's just say that you don't have any safeguards up and the public can view your social media accounts. You want to be careful, and you don't want to post photos that show that you're away contemporaneously with your being away, because that's an invitation to have a scammer contact you and say it would be an imposter scam, like Susan highlighted. Your family member's in the hospital, or your family member is stuck overseas, or has been arrested, and a bail fund has been set up to help them. And of course, you're going to panic because your emotion is, oh my gosh, I have to help that person. So we recommend that you, if you want to share your vacation, and it's always lovely to see photos of lovely places and smiling people, wait till you get home and then you can do your posting. Public Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi is a double-edged sword. We appreciate it because it gives us the ability to see our messages, but it also has its risks. So unless you know that it's in a secure spot, we recommend that you don't take advantage of free public Wi-Fi. If you go into a place, for example, even the library, and you use one of the computers there, please log off when you have finished doing whatever search or reading emails, because if you leave your account open, unwittingly, someone who sits down at that desk and uses that computer now has access to all of your information. And not everyone is a bad actor, but there are plenty out there. So you want to be careful and just take as many precautions as you can. Another suggestion that we highly recommend is to monitor your credit reports. So there are 3 credit reporting agencies, and we have them identified with their contact information in one of the last slides. Why is it important to monitor your credit reports? Because you want to see, did anyone open up an account in my name that I didn't authorize? You want to see if you have any unpaid bills. You know, when I discussed a few moments ago, someone submitting a change of address and having bills sent to that address, which is not yours. If part of the bill hasn't been paid, let's just say they've only paid the minimum amount, and so charges are accruing with interest, and you have debt appearing on your credit report that you are unaware of, the only way you'll know is if you do a search with the agencies. Now, if you're a victim of identity theft, you can get free credit report review, and that's once a year. But if you're smart enough to space out your search on the 3 credit reporting agencies, you can every 4 months search a different credit reporting agency to see if something fishy appears. You can reach out to Experian in January. You can reach out to Equifax in May. And through the year, you can go to TransUnion, and these will be free to you to monitor your credit. Now, what happens if you do find that there's been a compromise in your credit? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to put a freeze on your credit. And putting a freeze on your credit is free. So you contact the 3 reporting agencies and you put this freeze on. So what does that mean? It means no one can open up an account in your name. They can't lease a car, they can't get a credit card, they can't take a home equity loan. And so what if then you are looking to refinance something, your car, your home, or you're moving to an apartment and you're going to sign a lease? Well, your credit has now been frozen. So you contact the credit reporting agencies and you lift the freeze for a very limited period of time, maybe 10 days, so that whomever you're going to be doing business with can access your credit and see your credit score. And then the freeze will come back on after that period of time. And we strongly suggest that you verify that the freeze has been put back on. That's another way of keeping yourself safe from identity theft, or if you've been scammed and information has been taken from you, you can try and protect yourself from any further damage. We all like to carry our wallets with our life inside those wallets. Certainly we need our driver's license, we need our health insurance cards, and a credit card, a library card, but you don't need your social security card, and you don't need every credit card unless you are going to be on a whirlwind shopping tour in different stores and using different cards in each place. So just keep on your person what you're going to be using and take a photo of a photo with your phone, or you can make at the copy machine a picture of the front and back of each credit card so that you have it and you keep it in a folder, so that if you are scammed or your identity has been taken, what you can do is you now have all of the numbers, because on the back of those cards, it has the contact information to reach out to the offices to report the fraud. It also has your full account number, and it has that credit verification code that you might need when authenticating yourself to report a fraud. So keeping a copy of all of your credit cards, particularly if you're traveling, is strongly recommended. Mail. Mail has become a big issue in the past few years. Mailboxes have been the source of check washing. There have been bad actors who've been able to get mail from these blue mailboxes, take the checks that are in there that are intended to pay bills, legitimate bills, and they're able to do a washing of the payee and of the amount. And AARP had an article recently strongly recommending these following steps. Number one, you should not put your mail with the check in the mailbox after the mail has been collected. Wait till the next day when you know the mail is going to be picked up. So don't leave it in the mailbox overnight. 2, if possible, if the post office is open, take that check and put that check inside the mail slot in the post office. 3, use a gel pen. I had thought that the gel pen was not the appropriate tool, but I learned that because the gel bleeds into the check, it is a better source of making sure that they can't change the payee or the amount. And if possible, pay your bills online. Not everybody is comfortable paying bills online. So if you still like to use the check method, you should make sure that you, and some people have mailboxes that are on the street that don't have locks on them. And then there's an arm that you can flip up to let the letter carrier know that when they're delivering your mail, that they can, that there's mail waiting for them to take. Well, that's an invitation for someone driving down the street to pull your mail out of your mailbox and to open up those envelopes and take the checks that you were intending for someone else. Okay, cell phone savvy. Many of us have cell phones that require we use a password in order to get into using the cell phone. There are some phones that have different methods. Biometric is a fancy word for facial recognition or touch. So you can set it up where, you know, one of your fingers touches the phone and it opens it. Or it could be in addition to using your password in order to get into the phone. I also have a setting on my phone that allows it to go into lock mode after several, about 15 seconds, because if I put my phone on the table and I get up for a second, and I didn't take the phone with me, if my phone didn't go to sleep, then someone could grab my phone. And because I didn't, it's open and it has all my information, they could access my information. We also don't recommend that you put your passwords for accounts in your contacts. So you don't want to say Visa credit card number and password in your contact information, because if somebody hacks your phone, then they're going to find that info. There are password managers. Some of them are free, most of them charge, some of them are a nominal charge. I think the library may have a list of different password managers that have been used by many people successfully. It's a lot of work up front because you have to enter all of your information. But once it's in there, then you will just need to remember one password and you're not saving it on your phone. So our phones are a source of communication. Text messages. Text messages are really a very fast way to communicate with one another. But text messages are also a source of someone trying to separate us from our funds. We get an emergency message. Your Social Security is going to be suspended. Social Security will never suspend your account. Or there's a problem with Medicare. You need to re-enter your information to be verified. And you know you have a doctor's appointment coming up. These are the imposter scams that Susan talked about, but they're coming to you through your phone. What you need to do is you need to delete them. Don't open them, delete them. And then in certain phones, you're able to block them from trying to reach you again. They're very clever. They use computer-generated systems and software to generate numbers to make you think that it's coming from a legitimate source. The other thing that we strongly urge people to do is not to take advantage of those free charging stations that appear in hotels, airports, or shopping centers, unless you have a device that blocks the this charging station from extracting or stealing your contact information and all of your sensitive information from your phone. There's a little device that's been put in ATM machines and that's put in these public stations that allow bad actors to steal your information. Treat the phone as a one-way form of communication and information. If you didn't initiate the call and you get a phone call from your bank saying that they're confirming a charge in your account, hang up the phone, take out your bank card, call the number on the back of your bank card, and verify that in fact it is your bank and your account may have been compromised. Never give out any of your identifying information. The hook with all of these scammers is to unsettle you. It's to emotionally challenge you. And so you just need to take a deep breath and you need to stop for a moment and say, I'll call back, or just hang the phone back up. And then you can verify what's going on. One thing that I learned from a session with the FBI was that if you find out that your bank account has been compromised, they recommend that you immediately go to the bank to put a freeze on that account and then file a police report, because the delay can result in money leaving your account sooner than you would like. Let's see, what else can we share with you? Reporting. Reporting is also very critical. We've listed contact information to report any kind of identity theft or scam and the credit reporting agencies. We're almost out of time. So if you have your questions, we're happy to entertain them. And thank you for being attentive and for joining us today.
I have the questions, and I could just start with them immediately. And Sally, if that sounds good.
Yep, that sounds good. We can unshare if that's okay, or we can leave the Equifax up for a few.
Yeah, so perhaps those contacts could be put into, well, we're going to make that the recording accessible, but we could, if somebody could copy those and put them into the chat, I think that'd be great. So the first question, how do you know when something is a scam? That came in before the talk began. I think she's covered a lot of that in here. Are there any additional things that you'd like to say? How do you know when it's a scam, to answer Joanne's question?
I think the famous saying, if it seems too good to be true, right? So, you know, is it from a trustworthy source? And it never hurts to triple check to make sure that it's not. There's no urgency. There's never an urgency.
Okay.
You can also, there used to be, I don't know if it's still in existence, something called Snopes, where you could see if something is real or not. And again, don't be unraveled. Don't be emotionally attacked, because this is how the scammers are targeting people.
Okay, and next one would be Colleen asks, aren't we supposed to keep all of our documents for 7 years?
So yes, you are. It's recommended that you do keep your documents for 7 years. I'm not quite sure how that comes into the context of scamming. I would say that anything related to loans, you want to definitely keep the initial one where you got the loan, and then the statement showing that the loan has been paid off.
I think the question was related to the shredding and making things to be shredded.
Well, yeah, I mean, so for example, you get a solicitation in the mail from your credit card company that it's either your credit card company or one that is trying to get you to become a customer. They frequently enclose checks that say, here, you know, use this money to open up your credit card. What they're not telling you is the moment you write that check that it's a 22% interest rate. So you're not going to do that. Don't take that letter and throw it in the garbage. Put it in a box and save it for when you have accumulated enough papers to make an appointment to go to the shred machine. Credit cards that have expired should go to the shred machine. Let's say you have bank statements. Maybe you want to save, unless there are certain transactions that take place that are important for you to keep a trail of. Save January and save December, and end of year statement, the summary. Your accountant would be the best person to ask, or your tax preparer, as to what documents you should save. If you own a home and you are improving your home, you want to save those documents forever until you sell your home because it increases your cost basis.
Okay, great. Just as a note, if everybody could fill out the survey, we do have a few more questions, but just in the interim, Sally has put the link for the Survey Monkey to see if you learn things and to help us make our workshops better in the future. And another quick form to fill out just to tell us what other kinds of workshops you would like. The next question is, it's related to credit cards. You said shredding the credit cards. Is it not enough to cut the credit cards up with scissors? Is there,
you certainly can do that. Those credit cards, particularly the ones that might have a metal chip in them, are very hard to cut. So if you've got a strong pair of scissors and a strong set of hands, you can definitely cut it up. Just don't
Okay.
throw it in the garbage.
okay.
I mean, you can throw away the cut up pieces, but I wouldn't throw the whole credit card intact into the
Understood.
garbage.
Understood. Okay. When should and shouldn't you give your personal information like your credit card numbers and bank information online?
I don't think you should ever give it unless they're sending you an encrypted email, which you already are expecting. So let's say you have an account and you want to have some online transactions performed. You've already had a phone call that you initiated with your financial person or your bank, and you are asking them to send you an email with an encryption code in it. And you open up that email because you know it's from them with the encryption code because you initiated it and you verified that the address looks like the address of your financial institution or your bank. And you can then upload your attachment and you can email it back through that secure system. The other way that I know it sounds like it's the dark ages, but faxing is another secure way to send documents.
I think was more pertaining to transactions online because you do have to, when you're buying something, you do have to put your credit card in to purchase it.
Well, if you know the merchant, then you should feel comfortable using the credit card that you've designated to do the shopping.
But
Right.
as long as you're double checking that you're on the right merchant, that you haven't been forwarded, sometimes because the scammers are so smart, you can start to type in www.macy's, for example, and if you slightly misspell Macy, it can direct you to a scammer site. So you want to make sure that you're seeing that key lock, which you can click on above to make sure that when you get to that screen where you're making the actual purchase, that it's a secure transaction, that you're double checking and reading the name on the link above for any misspellings or anything else of that nature, to make sure that you are actually on the right site. Because I'm sure when we've all done Google searches, we start to type in what we think we want and we get redirected. And the scammers are
Right.
smart and they do the same with common business names and then they register them and create fake websites. So you do always want to double check the spelling and look for that padlock as well.
Right.
And when you click
Also-
on the padlock, it shows the certificate for the business.
Right. Also, it's the https:// www. Whomever you're looking to connect with.
Okay. And I suppose another one related to that is if you are in contact with a merchant by email or by text, and you have agreed on a transaction, a price or a hotel or whatever it is that you're doing, and you're doing it directly with them, is it safe to send your credit card number through an email or through a text? Or is it best to divide it up into several emails or just separate the expiration date from the email? Is it possible that those emails can be intercepted? Likewise, banking information or whatever.
Yes, it is possible. So you can do it in stages, or you can say to the proprietor, please call me. I will give you my credit card number over the phone.
Okay. All right, that's great. I think we've covered the questions. If anybody else has any more questions, please post them now. Otherwise, we can give it, we have 3 more minutes before the conclusion. Sally, I think we are going to save the chat notes so that we can make them available for anybody who has submitted to us their email. Is that correct?
Yes, I just saved it. Thank
Yes.
you to Roberta and to Susan. So much great information, and it keeps evolving. I was keeping an eye on my phone and I got a scam call. So thinking it was someone in the background, because there a lot that goes on in the backgrounds. So it's the same. Oh, your Google account, there's an emergency with the Google account. So,
Right, and you panic because you figure you're going to get locked out. And
Right.
just ignore it. We all have that moment where our hearts are in our throats thinking, oh my, I'm going to get locked out of my account. It's going to get shut down. I mean, the text scam, which we didn't specifically talk about, has been really insidious, where, you'll get something from someone pretending to be from Apple or Microsoft, and they'll say that you need to upgrade your software. And without thinking, yeah, that's a great idea. And so you give them access, and the next thing you know, they take over your computer, and then they want money in order to release it. So if you did get an email like that, or a phone call like that, hang up, log off, contact Microsoft or Apple directly, and ask them, can they do a checkup on your computer? Is there something you can do? I mean, if something were to occur where you innocently and inadvertently allowed malware into your system, don't try to fix it yourself. You should make an appointment, and you should go to an authorized place like an Apple, like a Microsoft, maybe a Best Buy, somewhere that's trustworthy, and allow them to do it. Depending upon the level of attack, you might even want to contact the FBI and let them address how to deal with a virus being implanted into your computer. Pull the plug out of the wall, for sure.
There we go. Again, I just wanted to, if we've saved the chat, and we're going to, it's 12 o'clock, we're going to sign off for now. But I just wanted to again thank Roberta Goodman and Susan Carroll and the Pace Women's Justice Center for being such great partners in the past with myself and other programs. I also would want to thank the Crestwood branch manager Z Baird, the Will Library branch administrator Aurora Cruz, and Riverfront Library administrator Sandy Amaya. We really did the whole gamut with Yonkers today, and we're pleased that it all worked out technically as well. And we have Colleen Brathwaite here, but we wanted to, obviously we're under the auspices of Westchester Women's Agenda with a female economic empowerment group. We appreciate your feedback. Please do fill out the survey. We'll stay on for a couple of minutes for that. It's important just for us to, this is our first one with the Female Economic Empowerment Group. And we will be offering further workshops on financial literacy. We felt this was the best one to start with because you work so hard to save your money, to invest your money, which is what we're going to talk about in the future, to clear your budget, and then someone gives you a call and you're out thousands of dollars within minutes. So this is the best one to start with. Let's do that. Make sure we're not scammed. And if we are, we've gotten the steps to take from Roberta and Susan, and then we move on in the fall with the other workshops. And we look forward to actually hearing again from Roberta and Susan sometime in the future. Lisa?
Yeah, just a couple of questions came in towards the end. One is, how will the notes from this discussion be distributed? Can you just say, will they be emailed?
Yes, if you signed up via Zoom and we have your email, we'll send that out to you. We'll also share it with the libraries, and they can share it out as well. And we'll be recording this and we'll be uploading that as well. And we'll share that information, how you can access this recording.
Okay, wonderful. And any final tips that you might have on knowing if something is a scam? I think that was a question that came from Joanne and she had fallen off the call. If you had any final tips apart from what we've talked about that can be seen in the notes.
I would just say, take your time. Scammers, that, the one thing to always remember is they're looking to quickly part you with your money before you have time to think, take a breath, and react. So
Right.
know that whatever you're confronted with, whether it's a text, an email, a phone call, a letter, someone at your front door, that the most important thing you can do is take a breath and take your time and realize, as Roberta said earlier, if it sounds too good to be true, if it sounds too dire, that's when you need to investigate, not to go buy a card at gift card at CVS or give somebody your bank account or through your social security number. And remember too, the one thing I would say, and it happened to my own mother-in-law, you're going to get these calls, when you get calls as well at strange times. She got hit up for money at 9:30 at night and she's, in her 90s and half asleep. So it caused her to react more emotionally than perhaps if she had gotten the call at, 11 in the morning. So know too that you should always take a breath and react. And the last thing I wanted to say, that we put our number in here for our legal helpline, but we really, Roberta and I both want to urge you all, like it happens to all of us at any age. So reach out, get information, get help, get assistance. Whether or not you can recover your funds is one thing, but certainly stopping the damage, recovering your identity, freezing your accounts are so important. And we are happy to talk you through it. Contact our legal helpline. I put the number in the chat. Reach out to other agencies. Contact us and let us know remind you what steps to take. But it is important to address it. Don't feel ashamed. Just realize it happens to all of us and work to stop whatever actions occurred.
And
Great.
as Susan started our presentation, she showed that all age groups have been impacted. So people need to recognize it's not just because you're older that they're going to think that you are losing your independence and ability to take care of yourself. It happens across the board. It's just the older adults have more money, and that's why they're a bigger target. And we need to remember, and we need to support our community.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's been a really wonderful workshop, and we look forward to providing more workshops in the future. Thank you so much to Yonkers for hosting, and to the Women's Pace Justice Center for all of your wonderful information.
Thank
Sal,
you.
I think there's anything else.
And also visit your local libraries, the Riverfront, the Will, and the Crestwood branch. They are a resource of information. So if you forget about the phone number for the Pace Women's Justice Center, they'll have that information there as well. And just your library is a great resources. They have great programs. Just keep visiting the library. If you ever have any questions, visit.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for
Thanks
joining.
again.
Take good care, everyone.
Bye.